Chapter 41-47, Dynasty Road 2, but there's another way, which is called Dynasty Road. It's not a direct route, but one that's full of twists and turns. Through these obstacles you can also reach the Dayan Empire. If you can become the top contestant in Dynasty Road, that person will give your mother and brother back to you. Feng Wu stared at Yanyu. Who's that person? Yanyu pursed his lips. Don't ask who that person is. I can't afford to offend them, nor can Luo Zilin. Apart from yourself, no one can save them. Feng Wu turned to look at Luo Zilin, who was obviously displeased. Feng Wu asked, Do you know who it is? Updated on B0X and 0VL. Calm. Luo Zilin nodded. If that's the case, Luo Zilin hesitated. If that's really the case, even the Luo family won't be able to handle it. Who was that person? Why was the whole thing so mysterious? But with everything that had happened, Feng Wu didn't have any other choice. Moreover, she could still take the risk. Why is there a first place on Dynasty Road? Feng Wu stared at Yanyu. Yanyu grinned. You're not the only one walking that path. You can assume that your continent is on the west and the Dayan Empire is on the east. In the middle is the area of the desert and ancient ruins, and there are countless tunnels from the west to the east. However, the tunnels will converge in the end, and when they reach the Dayan Empire, they'll form a main road. On your way here, you'll earn points from killing magical beasts, obtaining the legacies of the ancient ruins, or breaking the exam record. Of course, in the late stage, killing other participants will give you a percentage of the point. Once you're on Dynasty Road, you won't be invisible anymore. The referees will know everything you've done. As for the referees, one of them is from Yen Manor. Yanyu gave Feng Wu a half-smile. Do you dare to take the challenge? Luo Zilin said. The Luo family has one as well. Feng Wu nodded. So does the Sacred Mu Cliff as well, Luo Zilin said to Feng Wu. Luo Zilin didn't know the real relationship between Feng Wu and the Sacred Mu Cliff, but he knew that they were on friendly terms. If the Sacred Mu Cliff and the Luo family helped Feng Wu, she would be treated like a princess in the Dayan Empire. Feng Wu nodded again. All right. Yanyu glanced at Feng Wu with a half-smile and said, In that case, I'll see you in Dayan Empire, my dear girl. What was that supposed to mean? Luo Zilin was the first to lose his temper. However, before he could say anything, Yanyu marched into the tunnel and disappeared from sight. The Dynasty Road is very dangerous, Luo Zilin said in frustration. Plus, I've already walked Dynasty Road, so I can't be by your side to protect you. In fact, even if we don't take Dynasty Road, I can take you to the Dayan Empire. With the Luo family's protection, you'll be able to do whatever you want in the Empire. But with Lord Yen and the princess working together, the Luo family can only fend for themselves. There's nothing else you can do, right? Feng Wu looked at Luo Zilin. Luo Zilin said, Well, Feng Wu said seriously, since Yanyu has made an offer, it means that my mother and Xiaoqi are safe for the time being. After you go back, you can ask around for me. Chapter 41-48, Dynasty Road 3. Luo Zilin nodded. Of course I'll ask around for you, but you, don't worry. Dynasty Road may seem dangerous, but it won't be a problem for me. Feng Wu paused, then said in a solemn tone, Didn't Yanyu say that there are a lot of places with treasures and heritage of ancient ruins on Dynasty Road? Luo Zilin nodded. Feng Wu said, I'll go find the treasure and heritage. When I reach the Dayan updated on B0X and 0VL, Calm Empire, I'll become a spiritual sovereign. Luo Zilin almost choked on his own spit. What did you just say? A spiritual sovereign? Feng Wu nodded and said seriously, That's right. I'm going to become a spiritual sovereign, and only a spiritual sovereign can walk freely in the Dayan Empire. Am I right? Luo Zilin said grumpily, You think too highly of the Dayan Empire, then. It's not as scary as you think. A spiritual sovereign can do a lot more than walking around freely in the Empire. They can do whatever they want. Think about it. Isn't that Senior Huyen a spiritual sovereign? Yenyu was scared out of his wits too. And look at Yen Yesgard. He's only a peak spiritual saint. Feng Wu was already a spiritual saint now, not to mention that she was an advanced one. However, she didn't know if she would ever have the chance to make another breakthrough. After all, to make a breakthrough into the spiritual sovereign stage required more than talent, but luck as well. Feng Wu said, "If luck is the key, trust me. I've never lost to anyone before." After they got back to the Junwu Empire, Feng Wu went to look for Emperor Wu. Feng Wu didn't see Emperor Wu when she went to court. Instead, she ran into the Empress Dowager in the long corridor. The Empress Dowager tried to walk away when she saw Feng Wu. Ever since the incident with Yenyu, the Empress Dowager had felt an instinctive sense of guilt and reverence for Feng Wu. She didn't know how to handle such complicated feelings, so she chose to stay out of the way. Hence, she turned to leave when she saw Feng Wu. Feng Wu was speechless. After a few steps, the Empress Dowager suddenly realized that she was the Empress Dowager. Why should she leave? Even if she had underestimated Feng Wu, it didn't mean much. She was the Empress Dowager, and no one would dare to criticize her. At that thought, the Empress Dowager was filled with confidence and courage. She turned around and glanced at Feng Wu, who was about to walk past her to see Emperor Wu. "You don't even greet me? What? Do you hate me that much?" The Empress Dowager's voice was cold and hard. Feng Wu felt a headache coming on. This Empress Dowager was so hard to handle. She glanced at the Empress Dowager. "Can I help you with something?" The Empress Dowager was speechless. Was that how a junior treated her? The Empress Dowager wasn't used to having her temper under control. Just when she was about to flare up, Granny Lan stepped out and smiled at the Empress Dowager. "Your Majesty, didn't you say that Miss Feng Wu helped you a few days ago and that you were going to reward her?" The Empress Dowager darted a haughty look at Feng Wu and said grumpily, "Why should I reward her for her stubborn attitude?" The corner of Granny Lan's mouth twitched, and she didn't know what to say. The Empress Dowager was the one who had been sighing about how wonderful Miss Feng Wu was and how wrong herself had been. Unfortunately, the Empress Dowager was as stubborn as His Royal Highness. Chapter 41-49, Dynasty Road 4. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Feng Wu didn't have time to chat with the Empress Dowager, for she still had something very important to tell Emperor Wu. The Empress Dowager was furious as she watched Feng Wu leave. She left just like that? I'm her future grandmother. Is that how she treats me? Update on Biomicron X0VL. Siomicron M, look at the look on her face. She's so eager to leave that she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. She's so capable now. Granny Lan sighed. Why did the Empress Dowager have to say such mean things? She had changed her opinion of Miss Feng Wu and even said that she would agree to her marriage with the Crown Prince, but the words coming out of her mouth felt like daggers. Meanwhile, the Empress Dowager was equally frustrated. She smacked her own mouth and wondered why she could be so mean. She decided that she would show Feng Wu some respect the next time the girl came to court. No one knew when Feng Wu would be in court again, which was something the Empress Dowager didn't expect. Feng Wu entered Emperor Wu's study. No one knew what they talked about, but Master Gao saw the serious look on Feng Wu's face when she left. Feng Wu went back to the Fallen Star Yard to find Feng Sun, Xian Yi, and Duan Chaoga waiting for her. Seeing her, Duan Chaoga rushed to her side. "Xiao Wu, where are Xiaoqi and your mother?" Seeing how hesitant they were, Feng Wu knew that they were worried, so she told them about how she and Luo Zilin had stopped Yenyu. "So, Auntie and Xiaoqi are fine, and someone from the Dian Empire did it?" Duan Chaoga was furious. "That abominable Dian Empire! Why are they everywhere? What do they want?" Feng Sun was furious as well. "I really want to go to the Dian Empire now. But we're not strong enough yet." Xian Yi looked a little angry. All of a sudden, he turned his serious gaze on Feng Wu. We want to get stronger and we have to. Feng Wu rubbed her chin and thought the same. Feng Sun and the others were very capable when the people of the Dian Empire didn't show up, but now that they were here, Feng Sun and the others weren't capable enough. Chaoga was a junior spiritual overlord now, while Xian Yi and Feng Sun were intermediate spiritual overlords. It would take them a lot of effort to make any progress, and they would have to have enough fortuitous encounters. That's why I want to go to Dynasty Road, Xian Yi said earnestly. My grandfather's death has made me realize that this is a world where the strong are respected. I have to get stronger and take revenge for my grandfather. Feng Wu didn't answer Xian Yi right away. Just then, Feng Sun said in a serious tone, I have to get stronger too. I saw you getting bullied by that young General Yi, and I didn't know what to do. Xiao Wu, how can I be your brother? I have to get stronger. And me. Xiao Wu, you're making breakthroughs so fast that I don't want to be left behind. Take me with you. I won't be a burden. I'll work hard to become stronger. Feng Wu pursed her lips. Dynasty Road is very dangerous, and I don't know if I can get out of here alive. Yu Chaoga said, I'm not afraid. I'd rather die than become a cripple. Me too. Me too. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Luo Zilin said, There's something Yen you didn't tell you earlier. Entering Dynasty Road isn't a one-on-one thing. You have to be in a group of 5. Chapter 4150 Dynasty Road 5. You won't get in on your own and you'll die anyway. There are 4 of you now, and you're still one more member. Luo Zilin looked at Feng Wu. Dynasty Road is a very important place, so be careful. Feng Wu gave it some thought and asked Luo Zilin, Will 4 people do it? Luo Zilin shook his head. No, it has to be 5. Feng Wu asked, Can't you do it? Luo Zilin said, I've been there before, and am a spiritual sovereign. I can't do it. Update on Biomicron X0 VL. Siomicron M. Feng Wu was speechless. For a moment, she couldn't think of a good candidate. Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu. Just then, footsteps and anxious voices came from outside. Feng Wu looked over her shoulder and saw a figure rushing toward her like a small tornado. It was none other than Yuminji, whom she hadn't seen in a while. I can do it! I can do it! Yuminji ran into the room in excitement, raising his hand as he ran, fearing that someone might leave him behind. Feng Sun was frustrated when he saw Yuminji. He mumbled, Why does he look so unreliable? Yuminji glanced at Feng Sun and ignored him. He then ran to Feng Wu's side and tried to hold her hand. However, Feng Wu wouldn't let him, so Yuminji had to tug at her sleeve. Xiao Wu, can you take me there? Feng Wu was speechless. Feng Sun was dumbfounded, Xian Yi rubbed his forehead, and Chaoga didn't know what to say. Feng Wu looked from Feng Sun to Luo Zilin. Him then? Luo Zilin nodded. It's your decision. By the way, this is the family token of the Luo family. It may work if you run into danger on Dynasty Road. After all, the Luo family is one of the top 4 forces. Feng Wu asked curiously, The top 4 forces? What are they? Luo Zilin said, The Dian Empire you're talking about, is it a force that controls the entire continent and is respected by all people? Feng Wu asked, Is it not? Luo Zilin said, Yes and no. It used to be the case with the Dian Empire, but ever since Master Mu Jiuzhou left the Empire has lost a lot of control. Many forces have separated from the Dian Empire. Therefore, the 4 super forces are the weakened Dian Empire, the sacred Mu Cliff, the Luo family, and the residence of Prince Yen. Apart from that, there are 6 major sections. They're the primordial pagoda of Buddhism, the formless sect of the Sword sect, and the Red Feather Room, where the woman cultivates. There's also the Medicine God Valley, the Mountain Sea Academy, and the Murong family. That's something you need to pay attention to because it's very easy for you to run into youngsters of these forces on Dynasty Road because they'll all go there to train. After all, that was what I did back then. Feng Wu nodded. Before she could ask another question, Luo Zilin said, "Because you're not from the Dayan Empire, I can't tell you too much. That's a rule and taboo. It won't do you any good." Feng Wu nodded. "But I still have a question," Luo Zilin said. "Go ahead." Feng Wu asked curiously, "So, what's our relationship? I won't believe it if you tell me that it's nothing because you've been helping me the whole time. I don't think you're that generous." Luo Zilin chuckled. "So, you know that I'm not a generous person." Chapter 4151 Dynasty Road 6 Luo Zilin chuckled. "So, you know that I'm not a generous person. If you want to know, I won't keep it from you, but now isn't the time. How about this? I'll wait for you there when you reach the end of Dynasty Road. I'll tell you what our relationship is. How about that?" Feng Wu said, "Deal?" Luo Zilin said, "It's a deal." Feng Wu had her own speculations about their relationship, but she still needed Luo Zilin's confirmation. Since they had agreed to meet at the end of Dynasty Road, she would wait until then. The next day, Luo Zilin sent Feng Wu and her team to their starting point on Dynasty Road. Update on Biomicron X0VL. Siomicron M ordinary people couldn't get in, and only Luo Zilin's hand plate could open the boundary stone, which was where Dynasty Road started. He looked at Feng Wu. Although he couldn't bring himself to let her enter Dynasty Road, he still remembered what his elders told him, so he had to tell Feng Wu, "Dynasty Road is open now. You guys can go in." Feng Wu nodded and led her team onto Dynasty Road. Her friends had no idea where they were going, but Feng Wu had Luo Zilin draw the map overnight, so they knew the way. Feng Wu said, "We're going to have 18 trials." 18? Feng Sun was the first to react. He jumped to his feet and stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded. "There are a lot of trials, but they won't be too difficult. We can do it." Yuminji glanced at Feng Sun and snorted. "What? Are you scared?" "Feng Sun, I see that you're not good enough." Feng Sun punched him in the shoulder. "Who can't do it? Do you want to compete?" Seeing that they were going to bicker again, Feng Wu rubbed her temple in resignation. Xian Yi and Chaoga stepped up and pulled them away. Only then did the two of them separate. Feng Wu took out the map and told them, "This is the first trial we're going to pass." Feng Wu pointed at the desert on the map and told the others, "This is where we're going for our first stop. It's where the ruins of the desert palace are. If we can get the legacies from here, our future will be much easier." Chaoga asked curiously, "The legacy of the desert palace?" Feng Wu nodded. "We're in the territory of the Dayan Empire once, but it has shrunk since then. Look at the map. It used to belong to the Empire, but now." Feng Wu drew 3 circles on the map. According to Luo Zilin, the Dayan Empire is located in the inner circle, and the other forces are in the middle and outer circles. The Desert God Palace is in the outer circle, and no forces or sects have ever lived here. It's a place with no one to rule. They used it to train their disciples. The Desert God Palace won't be too dangerous, and it'll be safer for us. Feng Wu glanced at the others. Chaoga hadn't reached the spiritual overlord stage yet. Feng Sun and Xian Yi were intermediate spiritual overlords, and Yu Minji was a peak spiritual overlord who could reach the spiritual saint stage at any moment. Therefore, Feng Wu decided that she had to make Yu Minji a spiritual saint. That way, their team would have 2 spiritual saints and their safety would be guaranteed. Chapter 4152 Desert Divine Palace 1. However, was it as safe as Feng Wu said? It was 5 days later when they arrived at the Desert Palace. "We're finally here." Chaoga saw the ruins of the Divine Palace a short distance away and turned to Feng Wu. "Luckily, you know the way. I would have gotten lost by now if I were you." The Desert God Palace was surrounded by a formation. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to get in, but Feng Wu's formation level was already very advanced, so it wouldn't be a problem for her. They were still walking in the formation when they heard a voice. Hey, are you here to look for the ancient ruins as well? Update on Biomicron X0 VL. Siomicron M, an excited voice rang out. Feng Wu looked up and saw a teenager in a red robe. He was running happily toward Feng Wu and stopped in front of her. Are you trapped here as well? Do you have anything to eat? Give me something to eat. Feng Wu was speechless. Who are you? Before Feng Wu could say anything, Feng Sun stepped out and narrowed his eyes. I'm from the Mountain Sea Academy, and my name is Ji Xingqing. I've been trapped here for so long that I thought I was going to starve to death. Luckily, I ran into you. The red-robed teenager suddenly frowned. Are you trapped here as well? Feng Wu gave him some food but didn't answer his question. Instead, she asked him why he was trapped there. Ji Xingqing heaved a long sigh. I came here with my senior brothers and sisters, but I got separated from them and got stranded here. I don't know what happened to them, but they have the map, and with senior sister Zhao Xian, who knows formations, they should have left by now. The teenager said to Feng Wu as he ate, but don't worry. Senior sister Zhao Xian will definitely come in to save us. Just come with me. When they come to me, you can leave with them. Feng Sun said grumpily, don't worry. Xiao Wu will get us out of here. There's no need to wait for your senior martial sister. Ji Xingqing looked at Feng Wu in surprise. Judging from your accent and clothes, I don't think you're from Dian. Feng Sun said, we're from the Junwu Empire. The Junwu Empire? What's that? Ji Xingqing smacked his forehead. I studied geography in school. The Junwu Empire? It's more like a small kingdom, isn't it? Are you really from that uncivilized place? Uncivilized place? Feng Sun didn't like the sound of that at all and retorted, what do you mean? The Junwu Empire is great. It's nothing like that. Ji Xingqing said, judging by the map, your small Junwu Empire is only the size of a sesame seed. How can it not be? All right. Since you've given me the supplies, I won't say another word, all right? So, it really was an uncivilized place, Ji Xingqing thought to himself. He had some hope for this team at first, hoping that they might actually get him out. However, ever since he found out that they were from a backwater place, he lost all hope because it was impossible. Just listen to me. Sit here and wait. You're not going anywhere. Wait a minute. Chapter 4153. Desert Divine Palace 2. Ji Xingqing was surprised. Holy crap! Is there light ahead of us? Are we out of that trap already? Ji Xingqing couldn't believe his eyes. He then turned to Feng Wu. You really know formations, and you're very good at them. Ji Xingqing remembered that when Zhao Xian led the way, she would hold the astrolabe in her hands and locate the spot as she walked. She was so careful, so serious, and so prudent. She was so afraid that she wouldn't be able to make it if she made the slightest mistake. Ji Xingqing remembered that this group simply chatted as they walked as if they were strolling in front of a court. They looked so relaxed, and they walked out just like that. Was it just luck? Ji Xingqing thought to himself. He didn't believe that the people of that uncivilized place knew formations better than those of Dian. Feng Wu didn't take it to heart. Ji Xingqing. Feng Wu and the others were about to leave when they heard a girl's voice. Immediately after that, many people looked in their direction. Feng Wu looked up to find a teenage girl in a purple dress running toward them. She ran straight for Ji Xingqing with a look of disbelief on her face. Ji Xingqing, you're out. You're out. The girl gave him a nudge. How many times do I have to tell you? This formation is unfathomable. Don't let your mind wander off. How dare you leave your team? Ji Xingqing didn't utter a word. The girl jabbed a finger in his forehead with a stern look on her face. Do you know what we're going to tell the principal when we get back? You're the principal's only child. I'm so mad. Update on Biomicron X0 VL. Siomicron M. Liangjin, the senior brother, stopped Zhao Xen. There. Luckily, our junior brother is out. He's alright now. But my junior brother, aren't you lost in there? How did you get out? Ji Xingqing pointed at Feng Wu. I came out with them. Liang Jin thanked Feng Wu on Ji Xingqing's behalf, and Feng Wu greeted him with a nod. It's not easy to get out of this maze. May I ask who your master is? Liang Jin asked Feng Wu curiously. The girl had an outstanding temperament and was stunning. If she knew formations, she wouldn't be a nobody in Dian. He should have heard of her before. Ha ha. Senior brother, you must find it strange. Why haven't you heard of them before? Ji Xingqing gloated. Liang Jin nodded. We've met and exchanged blows with almost all the outstanding members of the younger generation of the families and forces, and we know each other well. However, I'm sorry, but I didn't recognize them. They're from the Junwu Kingdom, said Ji Xingqing with a smile. Senior brother, it's normal that you haven't heard of them before. I was shocked when I heard about that place too. Liang Jin was surprised. How could such an amazing girl be born in a place like that? That was incredible. However, he soon stopped looking surprised and smiled. That's very surprising. Feng Wu, Feng Sun, and the others exchanged looks. It seemed that the Junwu Empire wasn't worth their attention at all. Feng Wu didn't think much of it, but Feng Sun and the others seemed displeased. Zhao Xian had wanted to compare notes with Feng Wu on formations, but she lost interest when she heard that they were from such a small place. Chapter 4154. Desert Divine Palace. 3. Feng Sun and the others were all sensitive people, so of course they could sense those people's contempt. They made up their minds that they would work harder on their cultivation. Feng Wu didn't think much of it. She only smiled. So, aren't you going in? Wasn't the entrance to the desert palace right ahead? The mottled bronze ring was right above the door. Shouldn't they push the door open and enter? However, Liang Jin only gave Feng Wu a wry smile. Not yet. Not everyone is here yet. We can't go in yet. Feng Wu asked why not. Liang Jin said, to open the door, we need a spiritual emperor to help us, and we need to remove the restriction. We don't have either, so we can't open the door. Feng Wu asked, what are we waiting for then? Before Liang Jin could say anything, Zhao Xian said, we're waiting for someone to remove the seal, and that person is coming our way. Liang Jin nodded. It's Fairy Jingmi of Red Feather Room. She's the only one who can open the seal. Feng Wu wouldn't believe it. She walked up to the ring and began to study the seal. Wait, didn't this formation look like a cube? Does that mean you only need to match the color? Feng Wu turned around and asked Liang Jin. Liang Jin nodded. That's right, but it's so difficult to match the color. If something goes wrong, it'll become more and more complicated. It used to be level 3, but Zhao Xian made 2 mistakes just then, and it's level 5 now. Feng Wu nodded and started working without another word. Update on Biomicron X0VL. Siomicron M. Hey, wait! Everyone in Liang Jin's team shouted at Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked at them in bewilderment. Is there a problem? Zhao Xian frowned before Liang Jin could say anything. Don't touch it. Feng Wu said, what? Zhao Xian said, I've turned it into a level 5-1. I heard that the senior brother of the Murong family can solve it. What if you make a mistake? What if we reach the 6th level? Even senior brother Murong family can't solve it. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Yu Minji walked up to Zhao Xian and glanced at her. Resting his arm on Feng Wu's shoulder, he said in an intimidating tone, Xiao Wu is awesome. She'll be able to pass even level 10, let alone level 5. Right, Xiao Wu? Zhao Xian stomped her foot in frustration. Hey, barbarians from other lands, can you stop being so conceited? You've never seen the world and don't know how difficult the formation of the Dian Empire is. You have no idea at all. It's impossible. Senior brother Liang talked to them. Liang Jin didn't know what to do either. He had always been a kind person, and since Feng Wu had saved Ji Xingqing, he couldn't bring himself to say anything harsh. However, he smiled bitterly in the end and said, Miss Feng Wu, how about we wait for the Murong family? Murong Linhai will be here soon, and he owes us a big favor. Now, crack. Feng Wu made a move before Liang Jin could finish, and the door to the restriction finally opened. Liang Jin stopped abruptly. Zhao Xian and Liang Jin looked at each other in disbelief. Just like that? Wait, how did she do it? Why did it open? It was as if she had just casually. Chapter 41-55 Desert Divine Palace 4. Ji Xingqing was equally humiliated. He stared at Feng Wu and said, You didn't get lucky. You really are a very capable formation master. Seeing how surprised they were, Feng Wu's team members gloated. These people had underestimated Feng Wu. Yuminji even threw a hand over Feng Wu's shoulder and glanced at the others in satisfaction. Now you know how capable Xiao Wu is. Feng Wu moved Yuminye's hand away in resignation. Feng Sun stepped forward and shoved Yuminji out of the way. Be civil. What's with all the touching? Out of my way. Yuminji smirked. Feng Sun, Feng Wu said in a hurry, you two, shut up. Right now. Feng Sun and Yuminji exchanged looks, snorted at each other, and turned to leave. While Liang Jin and the others were still in shock, Feng Wu walked into the desert palace first. Feng Sun and Yuminji rushed in after her. Liang Jin and Zhao Xian looked at each other, and Liang Jin said, Shall we go in as well? Zhao Xian nodded. Yes. Feng Wu didn't know this place well, so Liang Jin quickly walked up to her and said, The further we go, the more powerful the spiritual essence will be. Do you see the clearing over there? Update on Biomicron X0VL. Siomicron M. Feng Wu nodded. There was indeed an open space in front of the hall. Walk past that open space and you'll reach the second floor. There are rush cushions inside. It's said that everyone only has one chance to choose one. Choosing the cushion is like rolling the dice. If you're lucky enough, sit on the right one, and you'll have a chance to inherit the ability. Feng Wu asked, Can only the capable ones get to the second floor? Liang Jin said, That's not it. The more talented one is, the more qualified they are to enter the second floor. After all, the masters of the Desert Divine Palace only test one's talent, not their capability. If one were to compare their capability, all the legacies here would have been taken by the more capable ones. So, the succession depends on fate. If you're fated or talented enough, you'll have a chance to inherit it. But you, what about us? Feng Wu asked in bewilderment. Liang Jin said, But you're all from the other world. How talented can you be? I'm sorry, but I'm not good at lying. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. In that case, you might as well keep it to yourself. Liang Jin said, Well, maybe you're fated with the masters, aren't you? It has nothing to do with talent. It's all about luck. Feng Wu looked at the empty space in front of her and was lost in her thoughts. Zhao Xian walked away before Liang Jin could say anything. Everyone knew that the first one would be more likely to get it. After all, there was a limit to what one could inherit. Senior sister, why are you so fast? Seeing that Zhao Xian was marching forward, Ji Xingqing wanted to stop her, but he couldn't because she was moving too fast. Senior sister, aren't you looking down on them? Miss Xiao Wu was the one who opened the restriction. Shouldn't she enter first? Why did you get to it first? That's just ridiculous. Ji Xingqing was a little angry. His senior sister was so snobbish. Seeing that they were from an uncivilized land and didn't have any connections in the Dian Empire, she decided to break the rule. Chapter 41-56 Desert Divine Palace 5. If Feng Wu and her people were all from the Dian Empire, no one would dare to break the rules. Liang Jin apologized to Feng Wu in a hurry. Feng Wu only glanced at him without saying a word, but she frowned a little. Let's go, Feng Wu told her friends. They followed Feng Wu. Seeing that Feng Wu kept moving forward, Liang Jin couldn't help but smile bitterly. Did she really think that she was walking on flat ground? This was the gravity domain, and the further she went, the stronger the suppression. Take Zhao Xian as an example. She had been walking fast at first, but she had stopped and was very careful with her step. She's a stubborn girl, Liang Jin said to Ji Xingqing. But she'll soon know how hard it is. Forget it. She's from a small town. If she doesn't learn her lesson, she'll run into even bigger obstacles in the future, however. He stopped abruptly when he saw that Feng Wu was a meter away from Zhao Xian. Ji Xingqing said, "Senior brother, that Feng Wu, she..." Liang Jin was surprised. Why is she walking so fast? Why is she behind Zhao Xian so soon? Zhao Xian is already one of the most talented students in the college. Ji Xingqing said, "That's right. Senior sister Zhao Xian is quite talented. Doesn't that mean that Feng Wu is? Just wait a little longer. Maybe she'll stop soon." However, update on Biomicron X0VL. Xiomicron M. Liang Jin was humiliated again. Zhao Xian was the one who stopped, not Feng Wu. Right now, Feng Wu and Zhao Xian were walking side by side. Zhao Xian was focused on her walking when she sensed a shadow. She looked up and spotted Feng Wu. "You!" Zhao Xian stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. "Why are you here?" "You?" She couldn't believe it. Wasn't this girl called Feng Wu from a small, uncivilized country? People there were all very untalented, but why was she moving so fast in this place that tested one's talent only? Zhao Xian wouldn't have it, and she was filled with jealousy. But soon, Feng Wu surpassed Zhao Xian. Zhao Xian was astonished. 15 steps. Feng Wu had made 15 steps. Moreover, Feng Wu walked effortlessly without stopping. What did that mean? It meant that the first 13 steps weren't a problem for her at all. It meant that she still had a lot of potential. Zhao Xian turned around and exchanged looks with Liang Jin, who was walking toward her with Ji Xingqing. Liang Jin smiled bitterly. He didn't expect to be humiliated again. In the few minutes since he met Feng Wu, he felt as if he had been slapped more times than he had ever done in his life. Liang Jin didn't dare to try to define Feng Wu anymore, so he told Zhao Xian, "Just walk your path. That girl may be an exception." Was Feng Wu an exception? Of course, she was, but was she the only exception? Zhao Xian was still sulking when she realized that another shadow had fallen over her. A teenager stood next to her. Turning her head, Zhao Xian saw that it was Yuminji, the teenager from Feng Wu's team. Chapter 4157. Desert Divine Palace 6. With his sword over his shoulder, Yuminji darted a sidelong glance at Zhao Xian when he felt the gaze on him. The teenager smirked, then took another step. Zhao Xian was speechless. This teenager was more talented than she was. Zhao Xian wasn't the only one surprised. Liang Jin and Ji Xingqing were equally surprised. They were from the Mountain Sea Academy. What did that mean? The Mountain Sea Academy was the top academy of the Dian Empire, and one of the 4 major forces and 6 major sections. It used to be one of the 6 major sects, but it had almost risen to one of the 4 major forces. But now, they had been surpassed by the nobodies of an uncivilized land. Yuminji soon walked past them and followed Feng Wu. Zhao Xian clenched her fists. Walking fast doesn't mean anything. You'll only win if you can make it to the end. These 2 people are going to surpass us. Forget it. I'll let them. Going fast doesn't mean anything. But to her surprise, Feng Wu and Yuminji weren't the only ones. As for Feng Sun, Xian Yi Chaoga, and Duan Chaoga, they had all surpassed her. Ah! Zhao Xian cried out in frustration. Update on Biomicron X0VL. Xiomicron M. Senior Sister Zhao, are you alright? Ji Xingqing looked uneasy. Zhao Xian gritted her teeth. They've all surpassed us. All of them. Ji Xingqing said, "Well, I don't know what to say. After all, I'm still confused." That was beyond their imagination. Zhao Xian gritted her teeth. They're just walking fast. What good will that do? We don't know who's going to have the last laugh. Ji Xingqing said, Senior sister, if walking fast doesn't mean anything, why did you leave first? Feng Wu should have left first. Zhao Xian didn't know what to say. This junior brother was so annoying. Zhao Xian said, They're just talented, that's all. Ji Xingqing stared at Zhao Xian in disbelief. Senior sister, can you hear yourself? One's talent will determine how far one can go in the future. Are you out of your mind? Zhao Xian threw a dirty look at Ji Xingqing. She was jealous, and what was wrong with venting her jealousy? Did he have to be so serious? She was so mad. Liang Jin smiled bitterly. We've been misled. It seems that there are talented people in that place as well. Zhao Xian said, I don't believe that they can get to the second floor. Ji Xingqing asked, What if they do? Zhao Xian smirked. If they really can get to the second floor, you can pick anything in my pouch. Ji Xingqing's eyes lit up. Senior sister, will you keep your promise? Zhao Xian smirked. Since when do I go back on my word? Ji Xingqing said, Senior sister, look. Miss Feng Wu is almost at the stairs. She's going up. Zhao Xian said, She can't get up there. Ji Xingqing said, You never know. Just then, they heard a voice. It looks quite boisterous here. Brother Murong. Chapter 4158. Desert Divine Palace, 7. Zhao Xian turned around and saw Murong Linhai. She waved at him in excitement. Brother Murong, come here. It was indeed Murong Linhai of the Murong family and his friends. The Murong family was also one of the 6 major sects, and they often interacted with the Mountain Sea Academy. Therefore, Zhao Xian knew Murong Linhai, the teenager of the Murong family. Murong Linhai was one of the best among the younger generation of the Murong family. He had a junior sister and several junior brothers with him. The restriction outside has been lifted? Murong Linhai walked toward Zhao Xian and the others. Which one of you has removed it? Liang Jin was about to say something when Zhao Xian cut him off. It was a coincidence. Coincidence? Liang Jin glanced at Zhao Xian. That didn't seem like a coincidence at all. Zhao Xian gave Liang Jin a warning look before turning to Murong Linhai. Brother Linhai, you're here already. Well, be relieved to see you here. Murong Linhai smiled. Don't worry. With me around, you won't run into any danger. The person behind Murong Linhai reminded him. Murong Linhai nodded and said to Zhao Xian, Since the door is open, let's move on. Choosing the prayer mat will be the most difficult trial. There are 6 palace masters in this place. Apart from Luo Zilin, the genius of the Luo family, no one has inherited the teachings of the first palace. Update on Biomicron X0VL. Siomicron M, there are so many of us here. Maybe one of us will be lucky enough to inherit the teachings of a palace master. Murong Linhai's eyes flickered. Zhao Xian nodded. If anyone has the highest chance of inheriting the teachings of the masters, it has to be Brother Linhai. Murong Linhai chuckled and said humbly, You flatter me. Since we're all here, of course, we all have a chance. Zhao Xian tried to flatter him again. Brother Murong is the most capable and talented of us all. If the masters have to pick someone, of course they'll pick you. Murong Linhai was pleased, but he still said humbly, Luck is the most important thing in the palace. Talent doesn't count. It's an equal opportunity for everyone. Liang Jin and Ji Xingqing exchanged looks, and both shook their heads. Zhao Xian was flattering Murong Linhai too much. Just then, Murong Linhai heard a noise from the second floor. What was that? Murong Linhai frowned. Zhao Xian said, Someone has gone up there. Gone up? When? How? How can an ordinary person get up there? Murong Linhai blurted out. Staring at the stone staircase, he grew anxious. He wanted to run as fast as he could, but the gravity in the hall was like a swamp that stopped him. It would take him a while to gather his spiritual essence and move forward. He wasn't alone. Liang Jin and the others felt the same. Zhao Xian looked troubled. Murong Linhai asked harshly, "What on earth happened?" Zhao Xian said grumpily, "There are a few cultivators from an uncivilized world. Somehow, they've come to the Dian Empire." Chapter 4159. Desert Divine Palace, 8. Were they the ones who opened the door? Murong Linhai looked alarmed. Zhao Xian nodded. "That's right. The leader is called Feng Wu. She opened the door to the Desert Palace by accident." "Are you sure it was opened by accident?" Murong Linhai asked. Zhao Xian nodded. "Yes. It was an accident." Only then did Murong Linhai feel a little better. If one had unintentionally opened a door, that was luck, but if the person opened the door after hard work, it would be a sign of capability. Murong Linhai wouldn't allow anyone better than him in that aspect, especially those of his generation. But, after much difficulty, Murong Linhai, Zhao Xian, and the others finally reached the second floor. They saw 5 people each sitting on a rush cushion. Golden light shone from them, and they looked as if they were covered by Buddhist light. They sat cross-legged with spiritual essence lingering around them, looking like gods and goddesses descending to the mortal world. "What?" Murong Linhai's face darkened. It was obvious that all 5 of them were receiving the inheritance. Zhao Xian cried out as well. She had said a lot of bad things about these people on their way here, but reality had just slapped her in the face. Are they accepting the legacy? Zhao Xian couldn't believe her eyes. "That's impossible." Murong Linhai said, "Of course it's possible. It's happening." Murong Linhai took a deep breath. There were only 6 palace masters in total. After Luo Zilin inherited one of them, there were only 5 left. Murong Linhai wanted to say that it was impossible just like Zhao Xian did. But he had to admit that it was the truth. Zhao Xian asked, "Did all 5 masters give away their legacies?" Luo Zilin used to be the only one who had obtained it, and it wasn't like one could buy it wholesale. Murong Linhai threw a dirty look at the 5 people, took a deep breath, and turned to leave. "Brother Linhai, where are you going?" Zhao Xian rushed to his side. Before Murong Linhai could say anything, one of his junior sisters smirked. "The treasure of this trial has been taken by someone else. What's the point of staying here? Are you waiting for them to humiliate you after they wake up? Naturally, we're going to find the second trial now." The members of the Murong family left in a hurry, but Feng Wu and her friends left a lasting impression on them. One didn't have to obtain the treasures to pass the 18 trials. In fact, there were 18 hidden treasures in the trials. If one was lucky enough, they could inherit or take them. If not, they would simply move forward. However, such an opportunity could only be accessed once in a lifetime, and it would be such a pity to miss it. Zhao Xian glared at Feng Wu. It wouldn't be so bad if only Feng Wu had inherited the legacy of a palace master, but why did all 5 of them inherit it? Why? Zhao Xian wouldn't accept it. Only then did Liang Jin and Ji Xingqing realize what had happened and draw in their breath. As expected of sister Feng Wu, Ji Xingqing gave her a thumbs up. "That's incredible! All 5 of them." The chance of getting even one was slim, but they all got it. Chapter 4160. Desert Divine Palace, 9. Liang Jin suddenly said, "Are they lucky, too talented, or too capable?" No one answered. Liang Jin asked another question. "What about the second trial? Is it going to Ob?" At that thought, Liang Jin said in a hurry, "Let's not wait anymore. Let's go to the second floor now, so that we don't have to wait for Feng Wu to finish her trial. I think she's a little unbelievable." They hurried toward the second trial. To their surprise, they couldn't obtain the treasure, nor could Murong Linhai. Naturally, Feng Wu, who had arrived later, got it. 3 months passed in a hurry. That day they reached the 18th trial. "Xiao Wu, Sister Xiao Wu, Can I call you that? Ji Xingqing wanted to kneel down. His 3 months in Dynasty Road had changed his opinion on everything. How could anyone do such a thing? She was unbelievably lucky. In the first few trials, they wouldn't believe it and insisted on competing with Feng Wu to see who would get the treasure first. However, after a few trials, they lost so miserably that they couldn't find anything. Feng Wu took all the treasures. It just so happened that all the treasures here were helpful for one's cultivation, and they could only be used on the spot. Hence, no one could take them away. The trials were supposed to be so difficult that only a handful of geniuses of the Dian Empire had been able to obtain a few things. However, Feng Wu had never missed any of them. Ji Xingqing looked enviously at Feng Sun, Xian Yi, and the others. Of course, he was envious. When they first met, Chaoga hadn't reached the spiritual overlord stage yet. Feng Sun and Xian Yi were intermediate spiritual overlords, while Yuminji was a peak spiritual overlord. However, with all the cultivation treasures they had obtained over the past 3 months, their capability had skyrocketed. Duan Chaoga was already a peak spiritual overlord. Feng Sun and Xian Yi became junior spiritual saints. Yuminji had long reached the spiritual saint stage and was already an intermediate one. Ji Xingqing was so envious that he almost burst into tears, for Yuminji was as capable as he was now. Just a few days ago, he had a competition with Yuminji, but Yuminji had outshone him. Ji Xingqing looked up at the sky and wanted to cry. He was the genius of the Mountain Sea Academy, and even his father had praised his talent more than once. However, these people from the wild lands, Ji Xingqing wasn't the only one feeling envious. Zhao Xian felt like she had been on a roller coaster ride. At first, she tried her best to slander Feng Wu and her friends, wishing that she could reduce them to nothing. However, as time went by, she had been shocked by Feng Wu over and over again and had been humiliated repeatedly. By now, she had become so quiet that she couldn't even hear a word, for she didn't want to hear anything about Feng Wu at all. Seeing the blood lotus in Feng Wu's hand, Ji Xingqing almost wanted to beg her for it. Feng Wu casually handed the lotus to Chaoga and said, "Eat it with Xian Yi and the others, then sit down and cultivate. You still have a lot of room for breakthroughs. While we're still on this road, make good use of this time to cultivate." Duan Chaoga looked at the lotus and nodded in excitement. She clenched her fists and said, "I'll become a spiritual saint as soon as I can." Chapter 4161 Desert Divine Palace 10. The others had all reached the spiritual saint stage, but not her. She wouldn't want to slow them down. What Duan Chaoga didn't know was that she had been making breakthroughs so fast that many geniuses had to cultivate for decades to catch up with her. Ji Xingqing gave Feng Wu a pleading look. Feng Wu glanced at him. "Aren't you the son of the head of the Mountain Sea Academy? Do you need more resources?" "Sister Xiao Wu, it's completely different. Dynasty Road is a place that youngsters of influential families like us can use to make rapid breakthroughs. Therefore, when we reach a bottleneck, we'll choose to come here to cultivate and search for treasures. Only by cultivating in Dynasty Road can one perfectly match the spiritual essence here and achieve twice the effect with half the effort. Otherwise, Duan Chaoga and the others wouldn't have been able to make such rapid breakthroughs. But no one knew you would be such a genius. How did you do it? You've plundered most of the cultivation resources along the way. You have no idea how jealous everyone else is." Ji Xingqing looked at the crowd a few steps away as he spoke to Feng Wu. As they walked toward the destination, more and more cultivators gathered around. Most of them were from influential families, and they were all proud and unruly. They already had a problem with Feng Wu. Feng Wu said proudly, "I didn't steal anything. I got it with my own ability. Why should I care what other people think?" Although that was the case, Ji Xingqing was still worried about Feng Wu, for there were simply too many people eyeing her. "Look at the blue-robed men behind me. Do you see them? They're from Prince Yan's residence, and the other team are all girls. They're from the Red Feather Room. Ji Xingqing introduced them to Feng Wu. The chosen ones of this year may not all be the heirs to their families, but they're all core members. You've taken what should have been theirs. Hey, wait. I did take the treasures, but I didn't take any of their stuff. Even without me, they probably wouldn't have been able to get those things, Feng Wu said grumpily. Ji Xingqing said, yes, they probably won't be able to get it without you, but there's still a small chance that they'll get it. They'll only think that you've stolen their treasure, and they hate you now. So be careful. Feng Wu thought to herself, I'm a spiritual sovereign now, and am not afraid of these people. I don't think I'll ever see them again after I get out. So be it. Feng Wu shrugged. Gosh, don't tell me you don't know that there's one last trial on Dynasty Road? Ji Xingqing reminded her in a low voice. Feng Wu said, I've passed all 17 trials. Are you saying that I can't pass the last one? Ji Xingqing said earnestly, this trial is different. It's very different. Really? Crossing her arms, Feng Wu asked Ji Xingqing curiously, what do you mean? Ji Xingqing said, this trial isn't like the previous 17 trials, where you can search for treasures. This trial is a battle. Do you see those people behind us? They're the genius cultivators of the 4 forces and 6 major sects, and you'll have to fight them to win this trial. Chapter 4162 5v5 Battle 1 What will I get? Seeing that Ji Xingqing wanted to say something but hesitated, Feng Wu asked curiously. Ji Xingqing said, a lot of people will be watching this battle. The battlefield may be on Dynasty Road, but do you see the arena? The arena can broadcast the battle live. That is to say, all the forces and sects are watching the upcoming battle. Each member of the team that wins in the end will receive a 5 spiritual glazed flame pill. It's a supreme grade pill that the 4 major sects and 6 major forces have hired the Medicine King of the Divine Medicine Valley to refine. It's very beneficial to our foundation and marrow. It's almost supreme grade. Feng Wu asked curiously, how supreme grade is it? Tilting his head, Ji Xingqing gave it some thought before explaining to Feng Wu. For instance, I'm not as talented as Feng Sun and the others now, right? But if I win, I'll take a 5 spiritual glazed flame pill, and after absorbing it, even if I'm not as talented as Feng Sun, I'll still be on par with him. That's how effective it is. Feng Wu rubbed her chin. It was indeed a great pill. It just so happened that Feng Sun and the others couldn't make much progress anymore. With this pill, they might be able to make some more progress for a while. Such rapid progress would have been harmful to their health. But Feng Wu was a medicine refiner herself and had experienced it herself. Hence, she had been guiding their spiritual essence and removing impurities for them the whole time. Feng Wu suddenly remembered something. Wait, the students of the 4 forces and 6 major sects are taking part, aren't they? What kind of a force are we then? Ji Xingqing scratched his head. Well, I don't think you're qualified to participate. Feng Wu stared at Ji Xingqing. Ji Xingqing said, well, after all, the 4 forces and 6 sects donate so much money and resources every year to the Medicine God Valley so that their descendants can get their hands on the pills. They don't expect to give the opportunity to someone else, so you don't get to participate. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Ji Xingqing. We're not qualified. You're so happy, aren't you? Ji Xingqing said, of course not. While Feng Wu was talking to Ji Xingqing, a group of people was talking nearby as well. Murong Linhai had suffered a blow and had yet to recover. He had been living in Feng Wu's shadow the whole time and had almost gotten the treasure a few times. However, at the last moment it would somehow fall into Feng Wu's hands and be used by her and her friends. Murong Linhai had witnessed the progress of Feng Wu's team, and he was still at the same level as when he entered Dynasty Road. You didn't get anything? Murong Linhai, are you that bad? A taunting voice came from the team next door. It was a teenage girl. Yan Qian, what are you talking about? Murong Linhai was infuriated. Yan Qian was the sister of Princess Yan Ling and the daughter of Lord Yan. She was the one who led the team this time. Didn't you say so yourself? We didn't find anything along the way, but that girl took everything. Yan Qian pointed at Feng Wu a few steps away and frowned. She's not that impressive. Why are you praising her? Chapter 4163 5v5 Battle 2U. TED by BXN0VL. Siamikron M. Murong Linhai smirked inwardly. You don't think she's that good? That's because she's been hiding her true capability. You didn't get defeated all the way here, so of course you don't know. However, Murong Linhai wouldn't be so kind as to tell Princess Yan Qian how terrifying Feng Wu was. If Feng Wu wasn't so capable, Murong Linhai would have snatched the treasures from her already. What's that look on your face? Don't you agree with me? Princess Yan Qian glanced at Murong Linhai. Apart from the Mountain Sea Academy and the Murong family, no one else had seen how capable Feng Wu was, so they didn't think much of her. Murong Linhai heaved a sigh and told Princess Yan Qian, Fine, I'll tell you the truth. We've passed 17 trials, and Feng Wu has obtained a lot of cultivation treasures. If you really have a chance to fight her, be careful. I think she's already more capable than you. Princess Yan Qian smirked. Liang Jin said the same thing. Are you all flattering Feng Wu just because she's pretty? Murong Linhai, I didn't know you were that kind of a person. Murong Linhai said in resignation, You didn't know that. Princess Yan Qian waved her hands. Even if we were late, we still got the Heaven Heart fruit. You didn't. Murong Linhai wanted to say something else, but Princess Yan Qian cut him off. Forget it. You don't have to say anything. I know you're on Feng Wu's side. Just go to her. She left with her teammates after that. Murong Linhai was speechless. Brother Murong, that's a bit over the top. The sacred son of Formless Sword sect patted Murong Linhai on the shoulder and left with Princess Yan Qian. Murong Linhai smirked inwardly. You idiots will soon enjoy the shadow of Feng Wu's terrifying capability. Just then, someone walked up to Murong Linhai and whispered something in his ear. What? She's not qualified? Murong Linhai frowned. Why is that? It was Murong Linqing, a junior of the Murong family. Murong Linqing went to see Ji Xingqing. Ji Xingqing nodded. That's right. According to senior brother, this is a competition among the 4 forces and 6 major sections. People of other lands can only watch, so they're not qualified. Murong Linqing felt sorry for Feng Wu. He had been waiting to see Feng Wu defeat Princess Yan Qian, but Feng Wu wasn't qualified to fight. If Feng Wu wasn't qualified, would the Murong family be qualified to become the final team? Murong Linhai looked behind him and shook his head. That wasn't possible. The team this time consisted of the Dynasty team, the Primordial Pagoda, the Formless Sword sect, Red Feather Room, the Mountain Sea Academy, the Murong family, and the Luo family. Of the 7 families, the Dynasty team was the most capable one. The princes of the Dayan Empire were old enough to take the throne, so they all had their own supporters. The 4th prince was leading the team this time, and the Murong family supported the eldest prince because the daughter of the Murong family was going to marry him. Right now, the girls of Red Feather Room and Princess Yan Qian were all around the 4th prince. Chapter 4164 5v5 Battle 3U. TED by BXN0VL. Siamikron M. Were these people fawning on the 4th prince? If that was the case, the Crown Prince would be in a lot of trouble. At that thought, Murong Linhai couldn't help but look at Feng Wu. As much as he hated this girl, who had kept him from the treasure, if he could use Feng Wu to defeat the 4th prince's team, Murong Linhai rubbed his chin. There were 7 teams in total. The Dynasty team, the Primordial Pagoda, the Formless Sword sect, Red Feather Room, the Mountain Sea Academy, the Murong family, and the Yen family. Right now, the captains of the 7 teams were discussing among themselves. The teams had to pair up, but 7 was an odd number. The sacred Moo Cliff, the Medicine God Valley, and the Yen family weren't here. So, which team wants to give up now? The 4th prince looked around at the crowd. No one would give up. Since no one will give up, we have 2 options. One is to have a bye, and the other is to add another team. The 4th prince naturally became the leader. He was about to say that a team would have a bye when Murong Linhai spoke. That's not fair, is it? Murong Linhai smiled. After all, whoever has a bye will be deemed lucky. How about we find another team? That way we'll have 8 teams. Liang Jin smiled bitterly to himself. Murong Linhai had been defeated by Feng Wu, and it would only make him feel better if other people were defeated as well. However, seeing the way the 4th prince was surrounded by the crowd, Liang Jin recalled how Feng Wu had saved the Mountain Sea Academy on their way there. In the end, he stepped out and said, "I think that team from another region is doing well. I think we should let them try." Murong Linhai said, "Liang Jin, you mean, Feng Wu's team has done a great job on their way, and they've received more cultivation resources than natives like us. Therefore, it's a good choice to have her team as a candidate." Princess Yen Qian smirked. "Murong Linhai? Are you talking about Feng Wu, who's more capable and luckier than me?" Murong Linhai smiled bitterly. "Princess Yen Qian, I didn't say that. I only said that Feng Wu was very talented and very lucky." "That's it then. Since you didn't praise me like that, it means that she's better than me." Princess Yen Qian smirked and turned to the 4th prince. "I agree to let Feng Wu's team join us. I'd like to see how amazing Feng Wu is." After that, Princess Yen Qian smirked at Murong Linhai. Her family had wanted her to marry Murong Linhai, but Murong Linhai had turned his attention to a foreign girl. Although she didn't think much of Murong Linhai either, it didn't mean that Murong Linhai could care about someone else. Therefore, although she hadn't confronted Feng Wu yet, the princess was already very hostile toward her. What she didn't know was that her sister, Princess Yenling, had been killed by Feng Wu. They interrupted the 4th prince's plan, but on second thought, the prince realized that he wouldn't choose his own team even if they had a bye. Otherwise, what would other people think of him? This was a battle to establish his authority. After all, that was what the 4th prince had planned from the very beginning, so he had brought some very promising team members with him this time. Chapter 4165 5v5 Battle 4. He and his teammates looked at each other, and they all gave him a resolute look. "Let's have a show of hands, then. If you agree to let Feng Wu's team participate, raise your hand," said the 4th prince with a smile. There were 7 teams in total, and 4 of the team leaders needed to raise their hand. The result soon came out. Liang Jin of the Mountain Sea Academy raised his hand, so did Murong Linhai of the Murong family, Princess Yen Qian of the Yen Manor, and the 4th prince. "All right. I'll give them a place in the competition, then." The 4th prince smiled. He had raised his hand because he wanted to let everyone know that he would obtain the pill with his own capability, not by using the rules to avoid the most capable cultivators. Feng Wu was surprised when Liang Jin told her the news. "Really?" Liang Jin said. "It just so happens that we're missing a team. You're such a lucky girl." Meanwhile, people outside were also watching the upcoming battle. Because it would cost too many spirit stones to watch the process from beginning to end, almost all the family clans would only watch the final battle in the 18th trial. The mother of the 4th prince, the eldest prince, Luo Zilin, and Yen Yu were all watching. The Primordial Pagoda, the Formless Sword Sect, Red Feather Room, the Mountain Sea Academy, and the Murong family were watching as well. They all hoped that their own clansmen could get their hands on the pills. The battle started with the drawing of lots. The 8 teams would fight 4 battles in pairs. The team leaders of each team would make the draw. Needless to say, Feng Wu herself was the team leader. Jun Linyun couldn't help but glance at Feng Wu when she walked in, for Feng Wu was already 15 years old and had grown up. No one would be able to resist her beauty when she walked in. Princess Yen Qian snorted. "Your Royal Highness, it's time to draw." "That's right." The fourth prince cleared his throat to cover up his embarrassment. As a prince, he had seen his fair share of women, but Feng Wu was the first girl that had impressed him with her beauty. However, the most important thing now was to win the battle and get the pill. As for Feng Wu, as a prince, he could get anything he wanted. Feng Wu not only amazed the fourth prince but the others as well. However, they were all focused on the upcoming battle and forgot about everything else. Feng Wu was as lucky as ever. She had picked the Murong family. Murong Linhai was dumbfounded and stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu cleared her throat. "Well, I didn't mean to. I just can't control my luck." Taking a deep breath, Murong Linhai fought back his anger. However, on second thought, he realized that anyone below the first place would be useless in this competition, and only the top student could get the reward. Since the Murong family couldn't get the first place anyway, he might as well give up and watch the competition from the side. At that thought, Murong Linhai nodded. "Don't worry about it. Let's fight." The results soon came out. Feng Wu's team versus the Murong family. The Mountain Sea Academy versus the Dian Empire. The Lord Yan's residence versus the Primordial Pagoda. The Formless Sword sect would fight Red Feather Room. Chapter 4166. Let's Fight. Feng Wu's team was in the first round. When Feng Wu and her team went up the stage, many people began to whisper among themselves. And there were quite a few of them. Apart from the 4 forces and 6 major sects, there were also some itinerant cultivators. Therefore, there were at least hundreds of people in the audience. But very few people knew Feng Wu. Only the members of the Mountain Sea Academy and the Murong family, who had been defeated by Feng Wu's capability and luck, knew who she was. Only a handful of them had heard of Feng Wu's name, but most of them hadn't. Hence, when Feng Wu went up the stage, many people began to whisper among themselves. "Who are they? Why are they on the stage? I don't think they're from any of the 4 forces or 6 sections. Otherwise, why haven't I seen them before? These people are so elegant. One look and you can tell that they're from a prestigious family. Don't talk about them recklessly or they'll punish you later. Is there a new sect? Have we missed something?" While they were discussing among themselves, Liang Jin of the Mountain Sea Academy stepped out to introduce Feng Wu's team. "What? From the outer world? These people all look nice. I thought they were from some decent sect. I didn't know they were from the other side of the continent. Is that true? That's not right. If they're from another land, why are they qualified to participate? If they're qualified, why aren't we?" They became displeased. Liang Jin frowned. He couldn't control the crowd anymore. Just then, Feng Wu frowned and said coldly, "Why? Because we can win." That intimidating voice silenced all the discussion. For some unknown reason, they felt revered when they saw the girl in red. But many people still wouldn't accept it and asked Feng Wu why she dared to say that. Feng Wu couldn't be bothered to answer their questions. Yuminji didn't like the sound of that at all. Crossing his arms, he smirked after Feng Wu. "Not only will we defeat the Murong family, but we'll also win until the end." "In the end? You?" The others all smirked. Feng Wu's team is so ridiculous. They're full of bullshit. They can't even the Murong family, let alone the end. Do they think they can defeat the 4th prince's team? Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Yuminji. Yuminji shrugged. "They've underestimated you. I won't allow it." Feng Wu was speechless. Just then, the 4th prince slowly walked out, stopped in front of Feng Wu, and smiled. "Did you just say that your team can defeat us?" Yuminji darted a provoking look at the 4th prince. "What? You don't believe me?" The 4th prince smiled. "I see that you're very confident." Feng soon crossed his arms as well and said proudly, "If we can't even be confident, well have wasted these 3 months of cultivation. Those 3 months were the most painful time for Feng Sun. Every day during this period, he had to endure the excruciating pain of his flesh being torn open, then healed, and then torn again. By now, he had gotten used to the pain. Even if he cut off his arm now, he wouldn't know what pain was anymore. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.